everybody, it's me, Nikki. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my February wrap-up. I only read 2 books. I thought I was probably not going to get very far in that TBR I did because most of them were chunky books and February is a very tiny month. So I did my best, but I read 2 big books and that makes me happy. So I read The Grace of Kings by Kin Liu. This is a fantasy. Obviously, that's all I read. But it's also a retelling of a real thing that happened in Chinese history, if I can find it. It is a retelling of the Chu Han contention, which, as with this, happened after the fall of the Qin dynasty and the rise of the Han dynasty in real life. And this has a map, which I have to tell you, I was thrilled about because it's on the inside as well. Because I kept flipping to it to make sure I knew where I was. So, this up here is what the Qin dynasty is. Zana on this little island, and they conquered the rest of this, and then their king dies, the emperor dies, and a civil war pops off. He had a son. He had a couple sons. The eldest one is who he wanted to take over for him, but he got outmaneuvered very early on. He didn't even know what was happening, and his younger brother, the second son, is now the emperor. It also comes with a cast of characters, which was helpful, because there are a lot of characters that come and go. So our main characters are Kunigaru, who is the Han, the replicant. That's not the right word, but he's the guy. He's like our main dude. And then there's Mata Zindu, who is the last of the Zindu clan, and he has double something that the real guy had. Where is he? Double pupils in both eyes. The guy he's based on only had it in one eye, I believe. And he is, Mata Zindu is horrendously tall and horrendously strong, and he terrifies everybody. Except for Kuni. And Kuni is like the layabout second son, and he's basically got no drive to do anything until he meets his wife, Jia. And he's like, oh, I have to, she loves me as I am, but I have to, like, do stuff for her. So he slowly kind of works his way up the boring, government jobs. And he is put in charge of a group of slaves who are being moved. I'm not sure where they're being moved to, but they're going to do some digging because the emperor who died and his son who takes over for him want to dig tunnels that connect all the islands and stuff, and also like a big mausoleum, and they're sent to do that. But then it goes awry, and Kuni's basically an outlaw. Like, he didn't really have a choice, because there's a big rebellion happening, and we have these 2 fellows over here sort of start it. Like the people rebelling, kind of, and then Mata, Zindu, and others are more responsible for the nobles rebelling. Let's see. Oh, and there's one guy. I believe it's this. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. King Shuli of Faka. He's a dickhead. He just does not... He'll pick a side and then he'll find out that they're losing, so he picks the other side. You cannot trust that man. Obviously. And then there are also gods involved. The list of gods, each, not island, but each little section on the map has a god protecting them. And so, like, the gods are fighting, and so everybody's fighting. And the main thrust of the book is Kuni and Mata are friends. And then they are not friends. And it is pretty rough. Probably worse than the rebellion they had just done, because everybody in that rebellion is now fighting against each other. And Mata, much like I believe the real guy he's based on, if I can ever find him, because Kuni is based off Lu Bang, who's somewhere. Who becomes the Han Emperor, Emperor Gaozu of Han. And the Mata is based off Jiang Yu, who had the pupil, a double pupil, that was it. And was also really strong in real life. And so if you read that Wikipedia page, you can kind of figure out how it goes in the book. But I believe it gets a bit more fantasy as the series goes on. This is also silk punk. Ken Liu sort of coined that term because there are like ships, airships, and things like that. What was I saying about Mata? Oh, Mata and the real guy he's based on, when they get into power, they sort of willy-nilly chopped up the country to their own... Mata specifically, I don't know about the real guy, to his own amusement, and everybody was like, you can't do that, but they were too scared to tell him. And they are obviously different. I just want to get that silk punk in there thing before I forgot. Kuni is more devious and not underhanded, but he's willing to do things. He doesn't really confront the enemy. He goes like around and attacks from behind, or like does little tricks, that kind of thing. He's also really nice to people, maybe even ones he shouldn't be. But he tries to give everybody a chance, and places he conquers, he doesn't kill everybody. He's like, oh, you're with me now, you're fine. Like, there are some punishments, but not like really bad, whereas Mata kills everybody, basically. So, but everybody's too scared of Mata, and I don't think in the long term, Kuni being that nice. No, he's not naive. I just think he sees the best in people because he got so many chances. He wants to give those chances back. But I don't think in the long term that's going to go well. Maybe it didn't in real life either. And then his wife is amazing. He has 2 wives. His first wife, he didn't want to take a second wife, but his first wife sort of coaxed him into it weirdly. That's a whole thing about it if you read it. But she has 2 children with Cooney, and the other wife has at least 1, I think, at the end of the book anyway. And there's gonna be some stuff between Gia and the second wife. It's not as coexisting happiness as Cooney suspects. So I believe, no, I hope in the other books there's going to be more political intrigue. A lot of this was war, obviously. There was a bit of magic with the gods. There's some other magic things that happen. Wink. So yeah, I'm excited to... I've read this one before, but it was really nice to... I listened to it on audiobook, and it was really nice to physically read it and have the map to go back to and the cast of characters, because sometimes you're like, oh gosh, yeah. So yeah, definitely like that, and I would suggest reading it if you like historical retelling, silk punk, fantasy Asian books. And then the other book I read was this chunky boy, The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams, the first in a trilogy, but the second book is into 2 books because it is so chunky. Now, Tad Williams also wrote Other Lands, which I plan on reading. Josh Strife Hayes did a worst MMO ever about Other Lands, the video game, and he did a whole series about it and how it wasn't the worst MMO and that the story was really compelling. So it made me want to... You can't play Other Lands anymore. Rip. But it made me want to pick up the book. So I will be reading Other Things by Tad Williams. This was written in 1988, and I don't know if you can tell, but it was the inspiration for George R.R. Martin and a couple other people. Not the whole thing, but like I think the chair specifically and that kind of stuff. This is about... It's about Simon, who is a... it also has a map and a cast of characters and other things in the back. But Simon is just a kid, well, he's 16, I think, hanging around this big castle. He has a mysterious birth story, and there's a mage, well, call him a mage, but is he or is he not? Who teaches him... What's his name? Dr. Morgan's, Simon's friend. And it is about... I don't think it's a retelling specifically, but if you read it, you can find historical events that match up with it. There is a King John, and he sort of conquers the land, and then he dies, and his eldest son gets it, Elias, and he has a younger son, Josh. There's no H, but I think it's Joshua, or Joshua. I'm not 100% sure. He's called Lackland, because he doesn't have any land. And Elias, like... There's a guy who is clearly the villain because he does kill a puppy in the first couple pages. What's the bad guy's name? I can't remember. Which I should. But, I know, I can Google it. It's easier than trying to find it. And it's really well detailed. Like the backstory is really not the backstory, but the world building is really great. And I think in other books he explores on it more. He's Prester John, like the king that everybody thought was somewhere but wasn't anywhere. Pirates. Pirates? I'm not sure. But he's a bad guy who dabbles in dark magic, and he's bad because he kills a puppy immediately. He has Elias's ear, which doesn't turn out very well for anybody. And there are other evil things involved. They have the Scythi, which are immortal. They have different races, like Norns, who live up in the north. Like, they're kind of elvish, but not quite, because they're different ones. There's, like, forest, and the Norns, like I said. There's dwarf gnome-like creatures, but I don't think they're part of the Scythi. And most people at this point in time think they don't exist anymore, just because they're so well hidden. And Simon has to go off on his own at some point and tell Joshua what has happened. And he meets a troll, a quanic troll, Binabik, who kind of knew Morgan's more by reputation, I think, than actually meeting. And he has a wolf that he can ride on, type of thing. And they meet up with someone else from the castle, and they go to find Joshua. And things just sort of go downhill from there. Elias is, like, convinced that Joshua wants to take over from him, and he's like, I kind of really don't. You've lost your mind. What are you talking about? Elias has a group of thugs, basically, that are going around, and I think at some point one of the thugs makes a mistake, and Elias gets mad at him, and the thug is like, oh, he's not well. And he's really not. It's almost like he's not possessed, but this darkness is really weighing him down, and just you can really tell he's not well, and it's not great. It's not great for Elias or anybody else. They find out that they need to find 3 swords right here to stop the big bad, and they're like, we have no idea where they are, because they're like as old as fuck. And they like maybe have a lead on one, they kind of have a lead on the second one, and they don't know where the third one is. The swords are called Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, hence the name of the trilogy. And Simon, as a character, he's not there for everything, because he's not a noble, but he's there for a lot of events. So you really get to see him grow from the sort of gadabout he is in the big city, Hayholt, and as he goes through trauma and trains and all of that, he becomes a vaguely wiser 16-year-old, maybe 17, I'm not quite sure. And Yeah, it was a good book. It's pretty, I wouldn't say it's pretty slow, but there are some bits where there's probably more description than you would necessarily need. But in the end, it really does come together, and it's everything you're told is you're told for a reason. It's really setting the story and all that kind of stuff. That makes a very good fantasy epic book. And it is epic, as you can see. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this took me a while. I tried to read 100 pages a day, and sometimes I couldn't. So yeah, this one took a while. Not in a bad way, but sometimes stuff happens and you just have to like, wow, okay. That's a lot of information is sometimes thrown at you because Simon doesn't know anything and other people know lots of stuff, and he actually gets mad. Binnebeck knows things and isn't telling him, and he gets mad about it, and then eventually he tells him. So, Binnebeck, sorry, Binnebeck. Yeah. And he's got like, Simon gets his own little nemesis, and he makes friends along the way. Early on, he saves a Scythy from murder and gets a favor out of it. So that does come up in the end. And he uses that favor to help him find one of the swords. So yeah, those were very great books. I'm happy to have started them. I have the complete series, so I will be trying to finish them soon. I rambled a lot. I don't know if I made any sense, but thank you very much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. You can see my squish right here. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.